Hi, beautiful women. Okay, I want to talk to you today about icks. Now, I'm kind of classifying them in three different categories, and maybe there's a zillion more, but we're just going to talk about three today. So, the ick is like this feeling of repulsion, right? And that's something that you often feel physiologically. Um, Gosh, it's so brutal. Anyway, I'm laughing because I'm just sort of like also feeling how tough it is for men out there and I feel for them. And yet also this is just a part of our reality that we get the ick. So I want to talk about this today. I'm divvying it up into three categories for now, which is superficial icks, attachment icks, and then like attraction, full body icks. Okay. So when it comes to superficial icks, this could be something as silly as like the Velcro wallet or, some of these things that, maybe he wears a certain style of pants or maybe he, something on this more superficial side of things. These types of superficial icks, all of this is giving us information. That's something I wanted to mention here is like the ick is giving us information and it's just about how we interpret that and what we're going to do with it. A lot of the time we just make it about them and we just like put that judgment on them and then we get rid of them, right? We remove ourselves or whatever. But it's actually giving us a lot of information. And so I think it can be useful. It can be a way that we can learn more about ourselves and then we can choose differently, whatever the case. So when it comes to superficial icks, this isn't really about them. The Velcro wallet has nothing to do with the guy. There's nothing personal about a Velcro wallet. Sure, it might give us ideas as to his taste or the way he spends money or whatever, but it's not really about him. It's about what the Velcro wallet represents to you. And so I think that really can give us an idea about our values, but also about our wounds. And so if we're getting an ick from certain things, it could be that we have an unresolved wound from a past partner or like a father figure or some kind of like male figure in our lives or authority figure or whatever, and this reminds us of that person. And so then we're projecting that onto that person. And I think this is really useful to kind of go, oh, right. So this is a wounding, has nothing to do with that guy. And I think where that's useful is that self-awareness gives us room for, if we want to heal, if we feel like we want to heal that thing. And it's like, oh, aha, okay, this is still there. And it might not be the wallet, but it might be the relationship that we have with that person and kind of going back into healing the wounding that's still attached to that person. And also, when you've done that healing, maybe this person is actually a viable person to go out with because, right, the ick is actually not personal to them. Like you could get them a new wallet. It's not really, it's not about that. So when you've resolved that, then these superficial icks might not actually become blocks to love for you. So I think that there's real merit to exploring that. I mean, I don't think you necessarily need to navel gaze every single thing that you don't like. That would take forever. But if there is somebody who seems like they would be a really great partner for you, and then there's something that's kind of getting in the way, I think that could be really worth exploring, especially because it's not a fundamental part of them. And I think it's also really natural for us to, if we have wounds, we want to protect ourselves from those wounds. And all these things kind of represent like flags along the way. And so it's natural that we feel a repulsion, and that is our way of protecting ourselves. So anyways, just wanted to mention that. But if we can break through it, maybe there's actually so many more people who are viable on the other side of some of these icks that are not really deal breakers. Next, I want to talk about attachment icks. So I think this one probably happens just as much, maybe even more, is that like maybe if you have attachment wounding, whether you have an anxious attachment style or an avoidant attachment style or a mixed attachment style, that's where if the other person is avoidant, you become anxious, or if they're anxious, you become avoidant. Either way, you don't get to connect, right? Because you're always moving away. Or you're moving towards someone who's moving away. And so if you're used to somebody who doesn't treat you very well, let's say you're anxious and you're used to somebody who is avoidant, then if somebody who even just has like a secure attachment style and treats you nicely, you might get the ick because you're not used to being treated well and you're not used to getting attention. You're used to having to chase and work for that. And suddenly it's like it overwhelms you. Even though you think you have the capacity to hold that kind of love, this is like a new capacity for you and it can feel overwhelming and you can push it away. So I think in that sense, you can feel the ick from somebody treating you really well. And again, that person isn't a bad partner. It is revealing to you that you have some wounding that could really use healing. And in healing that, even if you don't heal it and then go with that person, healing that will open you up to being able to receive the love that you actually really want. So this person is reflecting this information back to you, and that is like so valuable. So I think instead of just kind of feeling the ick and wanting to push this person away, it's great to take a beat and just go, what is this showing me? And maybe that is your attachment style coming up, and then you've got that information to work with. Okay, the third one I want to talk about, there we go, is attraction body icks. I'm saying like full body, ick. And I think for me, this is the one that is personal. And so I think if you don't feel physically attracted to that specific person, that is likely, the third, but the only out of these icks that probably wouldn't overcome. I think the other two you could definitely work with and you can overcome that. I think like not being attracted to your spouse is really damaging for both you and them. And, because they want to feel desired, they want to feel attractive. And if you don't feel that way about them, that's pretty hard to fake. And it's not good for you either. You're having to, anyway, I don't even want to go down that road. You can imagine. So I think that is honestly probably the most viable or like valuable ick that means that you can, say like, I don't think this is a match, and you can remove yourself from the situation. And that, for me, like that kind of information is like, we don't necessarily have to explore so much. I mean, maybe you want to think about what your values are in terms of like height or weight or hair color and all those things. And maybe there are things that you have internalized like culturally or socially around those things. And that could be worth unpacking for sure. But I mean, that would be another take on that could open up, again, even more potential partners for you. Yeah, I think that is probably the only one out of the three that tends to be a bit more personal. And it's more in that sense around like, that's just not for me. Yeah, as I said, you can go down the rabbit hole or not. But whereas the other two tend to be, I would say, yeah, it's more about you. It's more about you than the Velcro wallet. It's more about you than the person who's finally paying attention to you and being nice and not leaving you on red and is actually texting you and seeing how you are and cares. So anyway, let me know what you think about these icks, what your experience has been. Have you ever been able to overcome an ick that you had and actually get past it? Have you healed a wound and found yourself actually gotten more attracted to somebody? I'd be really interested to see what your experience has been. Yeah, so leave some notes in the comments. I'd love to see what it's been like for you, and I'll see you in the next video.